Advantage 1 is corporate personnel, change regulations, and hostile litigation climate, denied investment in AI, corporate personnel locks AI innovation, which rolls over until the entire economy of life 21 corporate personnel innovation, benefits, improve quality of life, new workforce, base US AI innovation, new diversity, really beneficial, AI innovation across a broad range of industries, innovation, innovation, and promote innovation of use across the economy, events, and power, if used well, impacts will be on reduce congestion, with real-time access, drastically reduce kind of innovation, once it means other more performance, secure for the solution, possible structuring, liability, or maybe precaution, accordingly, retract costs and decisions, regulation, entirely, eliminate benefits, equally, risk, all create great cost and innovation, litigation, precaution, recourse, really, waste, preserve, everything, environment, business, sun investment, after robust AI innovation, Chinese lead innovation, Taiwan, or network hubs, to innovation, like, make a successfully process, avoid innovation, risk, stage, over to the US, 6 to the hood, and become device, support the user, advice, base, no innovations all the time, they must hack from, level to the benefit of environment, use it, they can use this, not prepared to company in the air, use this, confined, increasing sophisticated, obviously, China, simply, working power, every time, want to be, I should place use, and make, and fear, some of the US, like, anyway, capabilities and ability members are based on innovation. Taiwan innovation goes nuclear penetration. Trade to China, Taiwan solution, option, Europe, turn safety, vigor, or some parts of the unit, never could nuclear CCP want to take a single versus using towards the body image over escalate, nuclear sharp else to be sensitive, shark attack force, last pretty sensitive, attacks that run and seal intended, and testing of counter channel attacks, like one response use, authority Chinese versus attacks, strikes attacks on terror, responses escalate US mainland Chinese attack Hawaii, Chinese tax supremacy goes nuclear body use, leak contains core China, whatever she takes nuclear body military to attack one to the question was the vertical questions about the course China and on the use, blood system, political innovation, first information, the same new type of bonus, and any sort of rallies that nuclear escalation is to the ship of the system of China, and blood run back especially the first and the cross new tactic access to the nuclear escalation by authority, as to cover center transit use the key tactic air from warfare killer, robust military combat land leaders, a take a war without risk associated with the rapid sure they've been decided to make it easy to strike enemies use with the different China, as more data version AI was concerning about ethical concerns being used to contract to advance rates as an even as they stock that input in those protect terrorists or destabilize China and coordinate his ability to new technology by the US is hard to attempt to detect this anti-access era denial leading more competent fading company is neighborhood block liberation nation leader one tech never cancel my magazine uncertain friends amounts of power to patient impact attack on the be nuclear escalation winning the tech race prevents rogue nuclear catastrophe damage uncertainty US experience declines rights, liberties, order, could see U.S. support, democracy, global democracy, order, which numbers the role, law predominant will be a friendly war, peace, order, economic security, nuclear arms, Saudi, China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran, market, global peace, and prosperity, helps make us on U.S. leadership, U.S. was lead ARS, must about competitive innovation, democratic appreciation, states like U.S. must membership, democracy, private, and a president, a winning formula, human liabilities, insufficient AI can balance existing liability regimes, either stifling innovation, or too many accountability, electronic, when it's not a rights responsibility, have assist focus on liability, human the uncertainty concession of the air special lawsuits and private manufacturing may not apply to air declare that the corporate ownership is insufficient part of liability host both extreme liability does incentivize R&D negligence reduce a difficulty to hold responsible victims by not how compensation received supply depends upon attack miss practice beauty software is considered product customers and service collect specification and market overshadowed by the AR office mass production decreases specialization is unique China lets self create arguments from council making it likely course project the most key factor parties on fragmented machine some negligence some strict liability some hybrid and plan tracks about line corporate accountability without deterrent innovation like trying to level liability for manufacturers not accountability not to integrated parties can only reach corporate access like that should know you responsible to fight for corporate subsidiary another layer should be collusion on cost station machine with mercury classification first order reset of proceeding on is new 60 machine on the ship technicians by manufacturing held liability when egregious critics argument liability shown of course or accountable careers so again liability when harms are foreseen by reason of the courts after expense review wrongdoing or liberal courts present the same principles of they are other maximum reviews corporation accountability case of misconduct likewise to AI corporate accountability occurs by harmonization and legal certainty vital for trust in AI no value trust to account even compliance should be an essential least the court discretion of the design regimes according to needs implemented experts we have to accountability to retrust various motivation aiming evidence by harmonization account regime regimes promote alignment advice hostile conversion trust fairness inclusivity transparency harmonization and gender trust accountability ensures every side of trust place such a road of housing trust greater than the legal center the greater the trust market growth comes from through legal through starting the trust covered the city costs and centers and innovation minimize but they ensure redress that's either brought uptake and maximizing benefits and minimizing risk LHL EG19 trusted rewards and employee use without trust not one consequent uptake and realization of the vast benefits and not competitive the system and overall context and trust who is not only system but a holistic and systematic approach to competitors of all actors trust the key neighborhood possible competitors brought in the foundation upon which all can trust, design, development, and use only trust will fully repay benefits measures, safeguard risk, upside and downside risks of AR existential affected governance is key CMOS. 21 existential risks of AI and military environmental governance that works over risk to be diffused into systematic lack of understanding of regulation. We can make catastrophic risks cover the process and hence automation, climate disaster. Response governance, geopolitics, and IR resource growth, trust, and health, environment, education, governance, everything. A civilization has ours until she may eradicate war, disease, and poverty would be the biggest event in history. Also, less before the rest. Thus, eliminated corporate person that solves slide 21 solution as a charge for AR partial corporate person to optimize machine outside to assure liability, negligence, all AI and corporate LLC subject to a direct liability when held by humans and limit over to converse efficient, save time, and express balance innovation with accountability with benefits for manufacturers, reasonably for massive liability, and rights and individual also for consumer benefits who cannot be obtained by rearranging traditional structures using PPD, CPD mandate AI hold a strength and individual result of use of your regime let manufacturers follow the little incentive to grant a subsection rights and innovative CPD rights and obligation release insufficient liability. Thus, the United States should invest limited corporate rights and duties in artificial intelligence advantage to its finance. Inflation is manageable. A soft landing is coming to too. Like a tail risk, but it's fragile. IP9 so soft landing is going to be governed by this one has labor has started to lose people to quit industry and lower rich growth is happening service. Show using ways. Pressure 2% over 6, how much of it has to do easy. That's the life for use card for the lower inflation needs of oil and 2.5 to stop time you go to warmer. Pessimistic in the O7 correctly anticipating the image daily said a different conclusion not going to affect so much much less like it happens in the terrorist. Versus a soft landing. The auto loan bubble will pop. It's exaggerated by pandemic rebound effects through the trying to want to come in and economic recession and implement lost market of drop out GDP plummeted pace already covered celebrating around 7 every sort of ready on sales also dropped yet 20 solid a decrease in the delinquencies carries a lot of people to prioritize auto that positive payments on loans and auto lenders pay to keep on private market. Dealers heavily promote sales and provide insurance lenders offered below market risk. The number of loans and different double to some motive to first really delays only given so some very few people have to start paying loans again. This is a team of like company flip 6 million innovation household exhaustive funds and poverty research. Auto loans have profit of the market, but there's a limited crash will expand property crash and auto bubble burst will kill entirely the pandemic second never follow. AI directors are better than human. The human control requires costly oversight. Only person that enables creation of best practices and corporate governance are Lola. 20 directors who crowded delegate carefully trained on the director. Continue to do for matters for all officer directors have the business. Special knowledge and delegation where like customer appreciation is not possible to delegate of all responsibility special skills and increase HE cost and more most beneficial towards AI as a directive obtained advantage in a full AI currently in use can curate some of the directives and perfection does not make a benefit and human imperfection does not hinder position corporate tech will not change what boards do. AI is capable of referring even better than human would be premature to contract to corporate governance to change corporate rules before best practices emerge. Any rule would a very experimentation legislation to private companies with room for numerous as long as the legal person AI is not allowed to direct best practices cannot be created. AI can quickly replace human decision making, but only person who makes it possible. Turner 19 LLC personalities doesn't mean an entity can take decision directors can be a corporation by the top of every human one capable human decision making to be an unlimited tech will a certain place and she's willing to allow your decision absent. Oversight directors to remain responsible for information have significant intervention. AI access any humans whatever rules might reverse laws presupposed only person can be directed by AI is entitled to take decision for legal entity depends on your personality. Corporate boards are increasingly incompetent. Effective governance is a prerequisite to address systemic risk and prevent the auto bubble from popping. Metagonizing global financial crisis prompted closely governance we governance played and a part of our systemic risk boards were to do so in example 2 like place the results for original legislation no clear benefits there were worries about a credible and Carlos bonus partners such as continued weakness governance or reforms have not led to a significant transformation in succession scams or items and continued problems with the objective mitigation system of support governance constitute access service for companies more active with showing cover global course where governance is very weak companies have global reach face a very limited competition operations so company the boards no longer disseminate happening boards become outside of products economic crisis ignites populism national and social unrest that morphs into global wars so 19 the current political landscape for like economic non-currency could spend out more than the market operating in the war where another crisis more severe than the last is the likely monetary cost of depletability of the economy the stress more sensitivity towards the unfortunately and environment also within stresses like the economic unrest and poverty even worse it is blamed on the foreign strengthened ethno-populism natural sentiments and increased social tension turmoil nationalism except for tension opportunity nuclear leaders blaming misfortune and inadvertently because every crisis later most combination even if unintended those forces because nuclear magnify existential risk back trying to win a second depression will have implications for global security companies and global systems enable to and one year is no bonus to follow and crash elsewhere and a global crash is highly probable administration to use geopolitical realignments with the US and try to represent the fact they can will be felt think of a diplomatic war versus nuclear and chemical plants will with a surge of accidents catalyst World War II there was depression as anti-Semitism may force is where appears of brilliant effects including Iran where he was trying a confrontation over Taiwan where SCS Korea pro the impact of nuclear war nuclear accommodation between NATO and Russia. That's right. I'm good for Chris.
Okay, you good?
Yeah.
What corporate rights and duties does the plan vest?
The right to contract, the right to standing, civil, and criminal liability.
So the right to standing?
Yeah.
Standing, and what was the last one?
Civil and criminal liability.
Civil and criminal liability. So how is, we'll talk about the last one, how is
and
it?
right to enter contract, I don't know if I said that.
So Sorry?
Right to enter contract.
Yeah. How is AI held liable after the app? What is the mechanism for compensation if the AI is found to have violated a duty?
The AI could be held criminally liable, which means it could be reprogrammed if it's found to violate criminal laws. It could be shut off if it's deemed too dangerous under criminal law. Under civil law, it
and
could be
shut off?
Sorry?
What evidence have you read in the 1AC about shutting off AI that violates
Well,
criminal
when
law?
I describes the criminal enforcement mechanism of corporate personhood, it describes a way in which criminal liability would serve as a purpose to shut off the AI itself.
Okay, and say in civil cases, what is the
In
mechanism?
civil
for
cases,
redress?
the AI would own assets, which means they can pay
AI,
out.
so AI owns assets after the app too?
I mean, they can become an LLC functionally, so they have assets.
So AI would become LLC after the app and they would just pay if they were found civilly
They
liable?
could do that, and they can also have an insurance program that's mandated alongside corporate personhood.
Insurance program? What evidence do you have that speaks to that?
The lie evidence says that corporate personhood would lead to thus a mandating of the AI to own an insurance
I
program.
just control F insurance in your way, so it's
It
not
says,
highlighted.
it says, the
It
last
says
lie card in the first
existed
advantage
twice.
says, rearranging traditional structures, use corporate personhood to mandate AI hold insurance.
Advantage 2, you've read uniqueness about a near-term inflation and an auto loan bubble. What evidence have you read that AI is of sufficient technical capacity now to assume leadership on corporate boards?
Multiple cards, our Loba card, the Turner card build says that AI have adequate data sets.
Turner's not about status quo of AI development. In fact, an exact quote is, once AI is capable of taking sufficiently complex decisions, it is conceivable the need for human decision-making could be eliminated.
Sorry, that's the Turner card.
Yeah, so
our
what's
Loba
the
card
card
above
what's the
it
other card
says
you're referring
that,
to?
sorry?
What's the other card you're referring
The
to?
R Loba card, it says AI currently in use could replace directors. Although it's not perfect, AI would still be better than humans because the other card I read says that those human directors are increasingly incompetent and wary
Like
of
what
the way in which-
what AI system that is existing today could you say is possibly capable of running a company?
I think the R Loba evidence gives
Like
an
give an
example.
example. Like what AI technology do you think is existing today that can run a company?
The R Loba evidence says that they can access
That's an evidence.
directors.
I want an example.
An example?
Yeah.
Our Loba card cites CorpTech. I'm pretty sure they had an AI program. I don't know exactly what the exact program CorpTech used, but our Loba says that CorpTech may be soon able to use AI directors.
Last question, what evidence have you read that China has corporate liability for AI now, or corporate duties, corporate rights?
Why is that relevant?
Because you've said that China's gonna overtake the US now. How are they gonna do that if they don't have a legal system that balances the upsides of innovation? with
China's
AI?
economic structure is completely divorced and different from which.
So they're overtaking us for other reasons then, okay.
Okay. I sent the 1AC, we ordered 6 off, advantage 2, advantage 1.
You said 621.
Good to go?
Yep, I'm good.
The automation said automation is limited now, but Personhood provides the audiological cover for mass automation work in IT. AI rules will sign a legal person in the next episode word rights basis on something to AI movement rates make it possible. AI is cheap compared to human work, placing human workers risk of public relation to based on the ideological cover which language rates offers by establishing equivalence between robots and people making the master place of human workers more just. Automation generates intellectual debt, extinction, depends on the systemic common threat and survival. Low class impositions of low cost systems are just as uncontentious with the limits. A ceiling of search that is to be seen as degenerated temporal erosion making the double time of service tackling society, distributing poverty, time class of proliferation, digital obligation, public capacity, imagine harms of automation, and think structural the preserve preparatory functions, automation techniques, no opening hours, automation fails to fail to fulfill its purpose, feedback loop introduces the administrative obligation, understand use of amounts of debt by thousands, paper cuts for society, the nearest person counted with the United States federal government should hold persons who control and benefit from acts of an artificially intelligent agent liable for damages from its liable for damages from its acts, require those manufacturers to purchase insurance for payment of damages and send arbitration and tort for causes. That's a requirement for commercializing said artificial intelligence. Indemnify persons who do not control and benefit from acts of an artificial intelligence agent from liability for attacks and damage to public no fault. Compensation for damage from said acts and determine to the extent that use of artificial intelligence is beneficial. The efficiency, profit, and corporate governance combines human members of corporate governing bodies have a fiduciary obligation to shareholders to defer artificial intelligence decisions about the operation of the company. Attorney harms those who benefit and control, balances the attribution of action, and avoids the existential slippery slope of overly personhood. Beyond 21 corporation control over the injuries, the emerging force, practical challenges, and personality algorithms. The operation requires a portion of liability grounded fairness prevention to the path of self-existing corporate law. Emphasizes control benefit beyond. And the plan of BCA would require harms to satisfy control and benefit for attribution would incentivize corporations to take care of designing, releasing, monitoring, and then updating the responsibility, extending mental states to algorithm balances culpability by deterring corporations from using mindless AI as liability shown for illegal conduct without over-deterring mature innovation. Beyond 20 laws are well equipped to address liability with thinking not for automated decisions. Corporations seek safe haven for all with misconduct. Exacerbate the risk. Corporation will turn to all with the pre-petroleum for socially responsible. And then by extending the corporate mind law to bring accountability like in theory, prosecutors, economy challenges, or accessories. The accountability concerns the AI bad. Descent the plan requires legal consent and mental capacity for AI. This establishes personhood around 21. Treating AI as legal and requires legal consent. In exchange, promises to be a person with mental capacity. Personhood becomes a necessity. Social disadvantages involve the use of insurance to cover liability. Opens legal issue to raise the issues posed by the agency. Contract office, same raising corporate liabilities. Don't solve the insurance issue. Allow itself to bear the risk. One can imagine the AI has been ability to issue currency costs. The insurance companies limit coverage together with the 14 insurance. Joins legal system from imputative orders on the AI. ALCs make confinement impossible, causing a destructive conflict of accidental threats. Total 18 risk construction. There are multiple any lead disaster anywhere from prenatal to superintelligence. The DSA seems unnecessarily strong. AI might inflict serious damage on a global scale. Institutional challenge coordination becomes difficult. Corporate lead to accidental risk damage that can happen if AI no release or if the AI controlled by a human organization. Catastrophic damage via electronic warfare, nuclear weapons, biological warfare, enabled agents, forwardly. The natural proposal limiting AI is to restrict info zone. Is boxing AI convert legal personality to an LC without human control with the goal of with a goal such as profit personality would give rights to be able to buy property contract open to make suit for free from pressure. AI can have an interest in extinction if carries out a strict limiting human out of control system to do catastrophic damage. The regulate counter with the United States federal government should establish an agency with responsibility for regulating artificial intelligence. The agency judicial rules require responsibility by design with the requirement of the AI system including I'll send out the fixed text letter that all AI systems must always indicate the identity of the creators, controllers, owners, counterman bans, autonomy for AI, coding and human responsibility for AI, friends, unsafe uses, Pascal 20 AI must always indicate creators, controllers, and owners. We should keep this way. Autonomous AI, the creator, ability constraints on the code's evolution, and the regulators would need to require responsibility by design. This may involve create certain hardcore audit logs or licensing practices such as national assembly, regulate post-hoc development. The EU counterpart, the European Union should vest limited corporate rights and duties in artificial intelligence. The counterpart policy, the Brussels Effect Clarity 21 European legislation on AI is the most influential national ensure the development is how the EU is placed in the limits of framework for rights extraterritorial with Brussels Effect and AI has an impact on the ground where companies don't get AI companies will have to do with the EU. Companies aren't likely to be able to ignore 450 million people that are fine. Infrastructure companies comply with the EU. You know, the country makes it more practical. Place the EU leadership by example for governments. AI autonomy taking aspiration use is already happening with California. Vision emphasizes AI is made for sustainable development, limiting the risk of AI. So there's some more trust AI signing AI rights and duties. The EU has no competition. The EU should promote its values. Independent EU solve converging existential crises. Only the counterpart makes it effective. So turning 21 states are making supremacy cornerstone. European autonomy emerge. EU should carry out crisis management and with the US EU. Discuss the need to upgrade use the EU's tech European leadership for forward autonomous approach to avoid coercion, regulatory responsibility, preserve the EU's and influence preserve Europe's actions from cybersecurity, Europe's space, AI, quantum such has been time the catalyst for global leadership. Europe lost democratic values, policy for AI, or policy for AI for the EU to become the leader of the growing risk of structure of IT system and capable risk of surveillance. The EU edge resides in the Brussels Effect. There's a way to go for the European leader for this to happen. The EU should reinforce autonomy, become leader and trust for the AI. The European regulatory powers represent for the EU's ability to act as an independent actor. Topicality, the AI requires the capacity to replace a human decision maker. It requires autonomy that goes beyond strict rule following ID 20 AI and been thrown out haphazardly. The key district says the rules are paid. These extensive based on limited rules capable of beyond. These analysis, calculation, assessment is not based on any predetermined credit. AI performance decision makers supposed to rule follow. Road for limits or interpretation justifies vesting rights to any computer or electronic system which arose class advantage to one. The advantage is not the unique source about an automobile that existed pre-COVID. There's no reason AI's corporate dictators to deflate an already existing bubble. Two, there are tons of economy causes. There are evidence from September, Muhammad 23 US. These 27 recession periods, for accurate predictions, we are likely to see CPI lower federal cuts of governance, most of the inflation surge 40-year high interest rates, and there are profits and staff growth leading to decline in asset prices, greatest beams in crypto. We're battling towards crash. 3, growth is unsustainable. And then bias restriction, accidental triad for economic collapse. Miracles 20 go. A cove to precipitate eruption from which our society will never recover. 3 cycle crisis, reciprocally reinforcing conversion to its goal. And then regression, climate emergency, biodiversity, annihilation, collective sickening by chemical impacts, arising from synergy, leaves society vulnerable less. Naptaku, performance, figure losses, functionality, characterized, process environment, social environment collapse. We can no longer post position. And the backlights didn't happen when these huge emission was peaking 2020, beginning to climb rapidly in the circuit. To avoid any calculus emission by the year 2020, our nature crisis risk missing climate collapse with natural system coming one, solved through suffering one demonic infrastructure, something capable of pandemic, the after global economic administration, because the drop is equal to more than IPCC considered necessary to contain warming, and the maintaining capitalist mechanism is disaster for inaccurate species 4 crisis now locks in transition, children Americans on 20 upper scale shifting happen towards sustainable economy for the futures increasing institutionalization, globalization, youth current crisis part of the chance for transformation, crisis, ultra political opportunity, the shift to receive crisis as a chance for change, public spending, and injection tourism to the scale, unthinkable towards capitalism, fear, taking the risk, immediate reactions for reform regulation around legal and local protection for people would never receive the futures, uncertainty and actors, listen to the alternative 5 downturn doesn't cause war, while 20 versus war, me like even when it goes empirical causes hard to imagine, let's get war, when elephants destroying their lots of easier ways to split the economy, young can encourage war in special circumstances use, and some 40 resolution you have so 20 wars on the way to the economy, states not some wars unless they will win a quick and cheap victory, that motivation for no war security, not economic gain, 6 financial crisis don't cause populism, Cordera, 18 core advantage parties in Europe, the recession, populism, the macro explanation, and Gruder, rest of results achieved by these parties on the current countries most affected by economic crisis, but Austria, Denmark, and Germany works, and this is the demographic sectors most affected by modernization because what are these policy orders to the youngest, best educated globalization, especially affecting low skilled workers, even order citizens confined to appealing to RWPP discourses seeking to defend labor security, the younger, better educated, improve the situation during the recession, after the recession, in place where the economy is improving level of globalization, or RWPP's rates where the economy is declining, towards what does not come laws of globalization, but the middle class is advantage. One, AI insurance fails, 0 towards which you lack of property, what damage AI caused black box common unity, AI creating unpredictability renders AI, and these actions unforeseeable, a substantial to calculate premium decision making process unknown AI, always merely knows it's known and traceable outside the black box, the problem with the decision afflicts the harm, leads to difficulty causation, presents a puzzle over what type of insurance policy black box also ensures ability to not for accurate damage, accurate coverage, inability to present the type of scope of harm. 2, statistical liability solve coverage. 16, the non legal rule is always determined to some extent because the limit of communication rulemakers are limited in present future access. Cannot anticipate all applications, even if the particular rules cannot be changed. Liability of party disputes based on cost benefit, based on the honest cost, no safety cost they test instead of a safety by internalize the cause of wrongdoing. The system is imbalancing innovation, safety, case litigation is not hindered innovation or robotics robots that become common in work settings such like distributors have been non-successful despite litigation, manufacturing, computerization of automobiles, litigation has little enough impact despite litigation, and the shift surgicals continue to be successful and innovation mirrors robust. 3, there is no tech race for 2019. Use chat will depend on each other for AI development. You will see a lot more formal and open collaboration with researchers, private, and this technology is more integral safe for users as ongoing partnership with Chinese corporate giants, individuals creating AI business systems, draws investment and research talent, cross-disciplinary cooperation is inevitable. 4, not zero sum. Sure, 19, the premise AI research is zero sum is easy to debunk. American firms invest millions in Chinese companies. American firms depend heavily on Chinese manufacturing. Erik is also not treating the arms trade benefit incorrectly treats artificial intelligence as a single technology. Competition track of China being the U.S. style trading and winning means what happens if China goes live after the end result is unclear. 5, China's tech rise in the U.S. decline inevitable. Mission 20, China chooses to determine the place of the American depleted by the war and terror misguided decision resulted in a transfer of tech Chinese PPP is bigger. The theft of IP allowed PRC to leave from manufacturing establishments around the centralized supply chain created dependence on the PRC military demand on a single point of failure. 6, no Taiwan work has some 20 balance of power stemming towards China, however, reputation rates unlikely. Numerous factors which are including unwelcome geography and climate inequalities in amphibious land in the U.S. intervention and Japan. Other options will be less risky, even if Hong Kong illustrated that local resistant PLAs on tests of China's resources will be stretched. It's unsurprising that Beijing is pushing hybrid warfare rather than military action. 7, liabilities inappropriate and failed adaptation. 18, liability impossible to offer bias based on overvaluation of capabilities of the most advanced robots or superficial understanding and a perception scored by sci-fi and sensational presence creatively possess inappropriate where the legal sense of regime is complex will not solve the liability issue. 8, civil duties require private plaintiff who will not sue. Patrol only 21 complex and passive make it difficult. Portion liability operators enjoy evidentiary revenge needs to be claimants as they have into the victim and only seek to expensive consultancy without adhering to uncertainty is problematic. 7, friendly is unnecessary and ruined by public obstacles. 2021 many talk about AGI to solve problems, the major problems also solved with correct tech. Literally improving except that we're not even prior intelligence taking what's currently done is spreading across practice, which is seen less corruption area as an intro for general AI never have more dedicated data and then research solve for solutions across all problem areas. No problems.
Are you good?
Yep.
Automation, the link assumes AI becomes cheaper. If you're right, the plan would spill over. I'm confused why AI would not be classified as under labor tax law.
Sorry, the argument here is that the mass automation that would occur requires rights, because currently there are audience costs to companies
it would require
fully automating their
That's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about why in a world in which AI has rights and is now taxed because it's now a person, why it would still be cheaper for the company to use the AI?
The tax would still be cheaper than a full wage.
The way companies tax AI now is under the capital tax, which is obviously cheaper than labor. I'm confused. Where do you have any link you need?
You haven't read any cards about this, so it's quite difficult to answer.
I mean, it's just
a tax is still cheaper than a full salary for a human worker.
Well, no tax is worse, but I guess that's fine. What is intellectual debt?
It's when society becomes automated to the point that we don't understand the way processes within society work. So it causes systemic risk that implodes society.
Processes about what?
Like the effects of automation. Like for instance,
if
we automate away every human job that currently exists, that means we don't understand the way, say,
a supply chain works.
Why do
And
we
as
need to know
such,
why-
when there's a failure in one,
Why
there's
do we
a
need to
system-
know how a supply chain works?
Because it's necessary for the economy to keep moving. So like, if we don't understand those aspects
So,
of
so,
systemic
so
risk,
you read stuff about how we would not understand how the economy works and that would like destroy supply chains. And then you read an impact turn, DDEV, confused, choose one.
the Pen Ev is a Luddite. He's
Okay,
saying
that's-
he agrees with
That's,
DDEV.
that's fine. The nearest person counterplan, how do you determine who controls and benefits AI?
How do we determine it?
How do courts determine
We
it?
use existing corporate law where tests already exist to determine whether a corporation is benefiting it or
Right,
controlling
what
it.
evidence have you read that says that courts are able to determine that now?
Our Diamantis evidence says that it's possible to determine it. It's based on existing corporate law. It happens all the time.
Okay, that's fine. The second part of that is like, so in a world in which the manufacturer does not benefit from the acts of AI, but the corporation does, the counterplan mandates the manufacturer has to pay out insurance. Is that true?
Sorry.
Like,
Public no-fault compensation fund is how you.
who funds, what public
I believe it
entity?
would just be the government.
Okay, so the government pays for all harms attributed to AI. In a
If-
world in which,
If it is
yeah,
proven that
okay,
the corporation is not benefiting.
that's fine. The regulation counterplan, does it allow AI to become lead directors of a company?
No, well, not the director itself, but like the corporation's gonna consult the AI.
I
The
guess
point
that's,
is that
what's net benefit to this?
automation and rights group.
Okay, what's the status of both counterplans?
Status quo is always an option.
I guess DDEV, the card about transition assumes like heightened pandemic effects. What evidence indicates that there's now public support after we've recovered from the pandemic?
I disagree with the premise that we have fully recovered from the pandemic, but Marquez does also preempt that and say that the quote-unquote recovery that has occurred has not been more capitalist policies. It has been greater state intervention in the economy, which demonstrates
Okay.
that there is momentum.
10 minutes of prep, start now. Stop rep 7:56 left. Moving it up. All right. counterplan, the AI agency counterplan, the EU counterplan, rights creep, automation.
There is a case order again.
Advantage 1, advantage 2. Is everyone good?
Not yet, give me a second.
Okay, no worries.
Give me one more time, make sure I get it.
Yep, advantage 1,
Mhm.
advantage 2, T, no fault, agency, EU, rights creep, automation. We good? Alright. 2AC1 insurance works. 1, the nobility evidence is giving victims redress of that is profitable and companies are able to pay out, increases public trust in the AI and allows for effective governance. 2, strict liability deters companies in the status quo because their innovations are not protected. The plan clarifies it by giving limited liability in the status, which makes it competent to advance that the quo does not solve the product service liability. The gap is blurred now that liability post-states are evidenced by years, which means that they don't assume that new tech now. The next argument is the tax race. Yes, there is one. The Horowitz evidence says that China is using war games to plan a Taiwan invasion in the status quo, which goes nuclear. 2, the Carnegie evidence says they're going to use it integrated into the military tech and push into the ECS and SES3. They drop the rogue states to impact the 1AC diamond evidence since I feel like when the tech race symbol is Iran, North Korea, and Russia, and Russia suppression arenas because it destroys democracy promotion. Yes, it's zero sum. Yes, it's zero sum. The China is actually practicing. They use integrating into their military and practicing war games, which is the Horowitz extension above. The next argument is that it's inevitable. They say that China inevitably leads. 1, the app solves the Horowitz evidence, or the lie evidence says that innovation begets innovation, and that the plan reverberates across the entire economy. 2, the no war of the impasse. Yes, war. The Petty John evidence says that China is undergoing nuclear and conventional modernization of the sea speech for pressure to take the island. They say the liability fails about the status quo. It's about the status quo. The lie evidence says that if they can hear from the jury, they'll be that it more fairly treats the manufacturer. The manufacturer is the private insurance bad. It's the status quo. The status quo. The lie evidence at the end of the advantage says it allows for the tracing of the causation. Okay, hold on. I'm at 7:43. At a certain point, I stopped running my time. How much do I have?
7:30.
7:30. Okay. Okay. All right. The next advantage. I just started mine. Okay. 2AC1, they said that their evidence is old. The root cause, it's irrelevant. Our evidence says that it is long-term predictive. Says that the economy is going to have a soft landing in the status quo. But AI and the AI is able to. The Montagon evidence says that corporate boards are the structural cause of the auto bubble, which was a structural condition. But AI solves it because it allows the corporate boards to make more efficient decisions than human directors. All causes auto bubble is key. Our evidence says that it dovetails the pandemic and the rebound effects to leave millions unemployed. The next argument is DDEV. 1, no transition. It fails and has a political death switch. The GDP giving people in poverty, so rich people continue living free income, rewarding poverty to all countries, different income distribution, mass production for Western population, you get 80%, 6% rich countries, zero income, you guys political death if you don't eat, and if you don't get in the GDP, it would be disastrous, and deal with lower than the politics, you can make structure blame, renewable tech, carbon use will never restrict developing countries, degrowth, and they do nothing about it, and the global economy is interconnected, global planning, the degrowth of global planning, the growth solves their impact, limits are wrong, that's brewers, the 21 limits are growing extremely far away, and most of our really impacted countries and non-high income countries degrowth from high income not feasible or workers called but that's not translating into economic policy, the decrease of the time markets because we're reducing incentives to zero and events, we already see increasing global energy intensity coming mark the card in energy intensity, the impact defense, yes impacts under this says that it causes a massive increase in populism and nationalism across countries morphs into global war. The Malak evidence says that it causes systemic risk and that escalates Korea and Iran and causes meltdowns from the detonating chemical plants, the theater. We meet the plan of rights and autonomous AI. Plan text in a vacuum is the least arbitrary standard. Countertermination analysis with the analyzer environments and take autonomous actions to achieve goals when you use universal definitions impossible. That's first. The debating computation with some neural networks and data mining that parliament provided a unified definition of AI, display intelligent behavior by analyzing environment, taking action with autonomy to achieve goals can be software or hardware. Another enjoy wide definition is impossible to provide only one has been always an area of future predictability. There's no bright line because AGI is speculative, overlimiting, it causes skill, impact turn base without link differentials, or subtlety advocates, topic education, liability process for narrow AI like AVs and medical is the core of the topic. Functional limits exclude small apps, flex, say overlimited scale, big stick cases, and the force one eventual advantage ground is guaranteed by generics reasonability, community terms race to the bottom of substance, snowfall. A dual scheme fails, risk for insurance providers is incalculable that either skyrockets premiums, wrecking innovation, or uptake on the or it reduces coverage, causing liability against us. And the reliability down model since they failed and taken away particular institutional autonomy liability for the principle for the misconduct by the agents from this reliability comes from consequences of gun already and software is the risk that the reason is that these have adopted risk for the illegal behavior since autonomy cannot be free of with causality and liability must be necessarily is impossible to operate with them their causal liability would go too far because we trigger liability and conduct their causes damage enough to go not far enough because only provides compensation for injury and property for insurance is covered in this liability would be in capital risk to pay every day because they won't provide insurance on unlock full conduct but the obligation to go beyond injury and property perm to the capital and condos of no cost advocacy disincentivized in-depth research was the only portable skill infinite dismissals no firms no kicks finance it does not solve because even liability for AI director is requires costly and timely oversight and expertise that deters delegation of decision making and holds development of best practices in corporate governance. It's our low evidence only person who allows AI to take legally binding decisions as a corporate director. Otherwise, key functions are legally impossible. That's a Turner which answers their fiduciary duties, plank the internal benefit of liability shields. Courts pierce the veil to check human abuse. It's equally applicable to AI and enforced literally, which is the lie evidence, the agency kind of one. Permanently both permanently the plan through an AI administrative agency which shields it does not if it results in rights and duties it links to no benefit if not functionally the quo it does not solve the corporate personhood it's key the agency cannot adapt to innovation is too slow and wrecks certainty family the regulators struggle to keep up with multiple examples national law do not recognize AI as a subject that cannot be held liable regulation inhibit innovations of the time period is inadequate given their exponential nature there let's able to update the rules regulators are the letters layers they will make use to come next time and the time consuming new regs to be obsolete before they are finalized the existing process on the division transition permanent whatever high on uncertainty that permanently the kind of the EU kind of Perm do both, it doesn't solve the US says no, it's an unprecedented change in law and bureaucracy. It's written the risk averse of fiat is key. International fiat is a voting issue for clash. It results in unpredictable actors, is illogical and not real world. EU global influence is not, there's no process effect that's run in the 21. Academic has been less impressed by the process effects. It's like weak influences that way to the EU and the global economy is shrinking EU's influence in their reality. World diffuse not their competition with international standards here. EU is performing less well. EU's influence with no weak leaders after EU and the world's global leader. External factors affect specific sporting worlds that are reason to doubt the process will help EU advance autonomy in their autonomy. It doesn't solve the AI race. US innovation is key to maintain the balance of power. No, the balance of power. A unilateral role triggers blocking statutes in retaliation by the U.S. There's no leadership, no benefit. LP is not key. Economic stagnation, French German divergence, southern borders priorities, lack of defense spending, offensive for Turkey, crush inevitably, or curve policy enough. They're already discussing proof about the EU floating it. No spillover motive. Their evidence about a ton of things it kind of doesn't do. Ukraine thumbs. This cancer. The U.S. Running to a political also a political door for the military war. EU just to give you more and well leaders block through with each individual nation able to threaten view power over the foreign policy over and with the new South relations of the EU wants this is for Moscow, Mark the Card, Moscow, Rights Creek. One, multiple states allow LLC person to embrace one inroads to be made toward a person to white unclarified algorithm, the ability of businesses and form LLCs for NC follow each enable legal person to software that very little you control 3, 2, Sophia Global RON corporationships and chimpanzee stump 3, no rights creeping the 21 pretty rights is selected corporations do not protecting against self-incrimination corporate identities facade and humans cannot be overlooked rules of procedure addressing precisely and their distinction between natural and artificial person exist on many levels in law they do not make a legal person equivalent to a natural person any more than I've been working to a natural person to natural rules about the healthcare Mark the Card and healthcare 4 LLC says solves partial corporate rights and duties will be narrowly tailored in response to AI's effect on humans. That's the lie evidence rights are not key. That's barren. The 15th legal person in private law does not confer radical capabilities and autonomous system approximately with any human collaborator or robot that can achieve ends very similar to person with Mark the Card and person rights are key to peaceful coexistence and then which solves extinction touching the 19 do not treat the AI like the superintelligence is self-interest she takes on a political dimension the problem of finding coexistence of her human equal but AI there might be mutual vulnerability only at the beginning of it she might if she sees the act against such counter-strike Mark the Card and counter-strike other countries stub EU photo Personhood and China can develop AI, no, what of AI, land grab, and that's what license security, and the general AI is not something to give you overcome, the processing of memory, and the computers, they require solutions to most intractable problems in science, Mark the Card, and science, the automation descent. Automation inevitable, link LinkedIn. That's what automation inevitable is provided like COVID resource life chains, advanced workers, or automation utilized for production. More companies take stock of the RP tech automation become mainstream automation augmented with companies attempt to mitigate virus while in there. We're trying to keep automation smooth and the COVID advanced automation down to pursuits of innovation, leading horizon automation, manufacturing will have fewer disruption and job turnovers. Mark the Card and the turnovers. The AF allows for taxation, which redistributes wealth from job losses and solves that. So they go the 21 loss of just compensated in full person to regulate exactly how benefits would be redistributed and would be distributed fund on unemployment tax at a higher rate, machinery increase out and out, and out of labor by granting AI rights and obligation to redistribute the wealth in a more equitable way. AI doesn't take jobs, but even if it does, no impact as well. In the 1980s, fundamental tradition of tax determinism made claim that jobs will be automated. Twice as many will be created. Human figures and there show that countries with the highest robot installations have the lowest unemployment. So much of as is historical. The fact work regarded. The fact innovation increases jobs. August in 19. Robots now reduce even the employment of the studies of this summer. The mistakes of the statement of fourth and the revolution speculation granted a little level of from historical analysis has been referred to specific attack extrapolate overall rates productivity declining studies only in the local regions adopting robots have now find regions have declining growth on not surprising regions specialized in manufacturing work toward manufacturing. Finally, there's no intellectual debt impact. They don't automate away all jobs. The US is not key, and AI is also smart, and it takes forever.
Could we get a mark doc, please?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want it like before or after cross?
Send it out before.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good to go?
Yep.
Theory besides international fiat and condo?
Yep.
Just those two?
Yep.
Okay, cool. The no fault counterplan, the first card you read says that strict liability is bad. The counterplan does not establish a strict liability scheme, so why would there be an over-deterrence effect?
The evidence is about calibrating the level 2 of liability to like a public insurance scheme, and says that in the context of AI, it would cause, it would make the, like, it would result in incalculable risk.
You did not answer anything I just said. This says that if the manufacturer is always held liable, then it deters innovation. The counterplan says only if the manufacturer benefits and controls the AI, they are held liable. So why is there an over-deterrence effect?
Why is there an over-deterrence effect? It's not about the I guess it's about the prospect of like of liability being applied differentially, and the fact that that cannot be determined.
The next question I want to ask is, what do you think are the differences in insurance distortions between the insurance scheme that results from the plan and the no-fault scheme of the counterplan?
Jared, do you want to?
Well, yeah, it goes back to what you asked originally. The Tuna card says that it makes two arguments. One is that if in a world in which the manufacturer, the developer, the user is liable, in which the state would pay it out, that would trigger cases in which the insurance would be incalculable because the state has to cover for every single one of those risks. Or if that's not true, that the second part of the counterplan that results in insurance.
So why does the calculability of the insurance or how much is paid out matter for one of the app's internal links?
Because it's about accountability and consumers knowing that they can
Right,
get
but
some sort of redress.
the accountability portion of the counterplan is the first part.
Which is the second part of the Tuna card that says that if that's true, then it may not go far enough because it only provides compensation for personal injury and property damage.
Okay,
AI
so-
can obviously do a whole list of other
the
things.
fiduciary plank, you said it gives functional rights. What do you think this means?
Like, yeah, I guess, so if it were to give, like, fiduciary, like, if it lets kind of if it gives rights and duties to humans on behalf of, like,
It doesn't do it on behalf, it gives the duty to the human and says they have to use AI in corporate processes. Why is that the same thing as literally giving the AI the duty?
well, because a duty for, I guess, AI to a legal duty in which AI always has to be used by a corporation would be a sufficient, like,
Okay,
piece
so
of,
if there's a
like,
duty for, if corporations use computers then, would that be giving a duty to the computer?
well, like, if there's a legal requirement that companies
Okay,
have to use it, and that humans have a duty to it, then that, I feel like that would be
the
enough to trigger
rights creep
spillover.
the rights creep DA, you read cards that say that AI currently has the ability to be registered as an LLC. Can you reconcile this with the app's inherency argument?
Wait, reconcile which
If
inheritance here?
AI can already be registered as an LLC, what is the app's inherency argument?
Yeah, the Y evidence says that there is a need to clear confusion over whether or not the LLC status gets
Confusion. Okay,
applied.
sure.
Your evidence is like about any legal precedent spilling over.
Okay, I'm starting prep, and just one clarification question. You did not read the James card that says
No.
rights and, no.
Okay, 6:30. Should be sent. The order is going to be nearest person, advantage 1, advantage 2.
first person one, two? Alright, good.
Ever good? Counterparts as a whole ask, why make the corporation pay insurance and then have the AI deal with the harm so you can just make the corporation pay directly? The app tries to deal with the status quo where some AI gets away with too much, where some AI can do too little. The counterpart resolves ambiguity by a three-pronged approach. One, control criteria establishes the balance between apportioning liability based on how much control corporations have over the AI. That includes the power to design the algorithm, the power to pull the plug on it, the power to modify, and the power to override the algorithm's decisions. That effectively prevents corporations from creating unsafe products because if they have the power to fix it, they are liable. Two, adding benefits criteria prevents control from being too strict but requiring the companies profit from the AI. That means if companies are liable as they're fair because they're capable then of paying for the harm. Three, familiarity. The company builds off existing employee corporation law, which is far better for certainty. Two, framing issues. One, sufficiency. The burden is on the app to impact out any marginal solvency deficit or difference in the way the counterplan and the plan operate. Two, the 2AC mishandled this counterplan. We made the strategic decision to extend it accordingly. They answered it like no fault and strict liability, whereas the counterplan is neither. It establishes a new doctrine that correctly apportions liability and strikes the balance between total indemnification and strict liability. They did not read any cards about that beneficial control test mechanism in the 1AR. It's too late. 2AC1, they have misunderstood the counterplan. Neither plank is strict liability. The first plank is the aforementioned beneficial control test coupled with insurance, so it means that companies could buy insurance in advance and access all the benefits of private insurance models, and that they wouldn't have to pay full costs in the case of damage committed by the AI. The second plank identifies corporations with liability if and only if there is not an identifiable entity that can be assumed to have benefited and control from the algorithm, which is in the rare, only most autonomous cases. In that case, only the State Funded Compensation Fund would pay, but it is not the negligence scheme that the second card, the 2AC red, describes. The counterplan attributes most cases where corporations are liable to constraints the most concerning overrides. Mathis 21, employees routinely satisfy control benefits, produce algorithms of control that internally begets to benefit even though many algorithms return as the bar to the body for corporate the benefits cover here constrain the most concerning overrides. We're called the self-driving car kills the Hertzberg, the benefit actually to question manufacturer control substantial benefit also control Uber seems set by all the indicia. The BCA could check all the boxes for the solution, the algorithm accountability is identifies potential class of defense removing victims of misconduct, egregious, the account embraces major values, liability should serve prevention of fairness. Even if they're right, the impact of slightly stricter liability is marginal at worst. The benefits required to meet companies at fault are also the best equipped to pay. Mathis 21, by treating injuries to stand control, BCA is preventive at corporations, the best position to reduce injury. Modify code will deploy corporations penalty benefits was paid by its commitment to fairness ensures let injury fall where they can be best be borne financially and morally. The companies that are more incentivized to innovate because removing strict liability removes fears of that liability scheme. Pagalo 18 rules of the law entails liability notice manufacturers whose behavior contracts negotiations, regulation about behavior through design, betting, normative contracts, and traits the design to two abuses. The doctrine that hinges on strict liability and precaution to cut back on the activities such as techniques can hinder responsible use of innovation. All kinds of responsibility look great because manufacturing operators will be held accountable with different circumstances. The skillful to subhuman should not be able to avoid consequences of AI robots making a mistake, but that doesn't link to the moral hazard accountability parts of the deficit because the counterplan creates demand-side pressures to embed moral codes into AI. Chomsky 21 consider adhering to the open feature conception that creators control versus machine more limited. The human employer liability can be directly applied to machines. If ordinary response superior or dominant would apply, constraints to be set by civilian constraints. Employers would be unwilling to hire someone desiring to cause harm as they would be liable to not be commercially viable rent. Produce machines for moral code. There would be demand-side pressures to build ethically behaving machines. Even machines with open feature would be equipped with a socially beneficial moral code. Next argument was perm do both. It links to that benefit by vesting duties and rights in AI like contracting and property, which the counterplan does not, and therefore is the premise of our DA scenario. That'll be the 1R. Perm do the counterplan is severance. The counterplan does not vest any rights in AI. That's a voting issue for negative ground. The vesting rights and duties has to specify the exact rights and obligations. The counterplan doesn't. Bryson 17 to facility raise a question. Rights duty system should confirm should result legal person is level within treating person is all or nothing. A legal system when the specifically restores obligations. If the legal system struggle, then it makes sense what has been done to cover legal personality without being more specific. Because legal personality is a black box. Vesting language has to be explicit. Bold in 22 implied vesting avails to establish benefits through vested hacket. Forbid from playing possession of the benefits absent intention to vest hacket. May the vest not occur without clear intent to vest benefits. Conditionality, it's good. One neg flex is neg as always react to the act. It's 2 yards infinite prep. Conduct resource competitive equity. 2 negation neg only disprove the app. Conduct simulates effective negation by testing from multiple angles. There evades clash by instant the case of contradiction. 3 critical thinking forces more choices. Adaptation logic and also choice prosecutability. They plans and impact turns after choice 4 logic. The judge endorses best policy. Prove the counterplan is bad. Is not prove the plan is good. Also just as judge kick 5 reasonability. Add improvements to choice check. They need to prove in-round damage. Next argument was corporate governance. The last plank of the counterplan solves advantage 2 requires corporations by fiduciary obligations to use artificial intelligence when beneficial for efficiency, profit, and corporate governance compliance. They have no personhood key card. The 1AC It just says AI needs to be used for corporate governance, which the counterplan establishes. They cannot permute this. They have zero justification beyond the 2AC. Just asserting this plank best functional rights. There's no definitional support for this, and the above cards demonstrate this plank does not because it does not explicitly codify anything that says AI has rights. The plank just falls under corporate governance fiduciary duty principles. It does not say AI is an independent entity with a legal personality. It says that corporate directors now have the duty to use AI as a software tool if it is available to them. The final argument about veil piercing, we're not going for the liability shield stuff as independent offense, but the veil piercing stuff does not apply. The 2AC barely extended this argument. Did not articulate as often, so new trust articulation justifies new answers, but there's no incentive to become punish corporations if it's easier to get compensation from the algorithm. Should call for corn. 18 sectors for customers for issues which should make it use it to and collect from algorithms that are greater end users. Incentive to favor them equal liabilities to be borne by the manufacturers. The distant algorithms to recover from victims will choose to sue the algorithm with the algorithm for only a small fraction of the damage. Now, corporate personhood advantage, 1 and C1, insurance fails. Since the solvency accounts the case, an additional justification for the counterclaim because the affirmative model fails to sufficiently reassure investors or promote uptake of AI. Liar evidence is impossible to trace causality, and next impossible to price and risk for AI generated unknown unknowns. And they just made up the solvency mechanism. 1 and C2, the status quo solves the liability dilemma. The current system will attempt to adapt to internalize a liability scheme for innovation and safety, but companies are still developing, continuing to develop AI regardless. Litigation has not deterred innovation in the field of AI. That's Hubbard. The current system efficiently balances incentives. Hubbard 16, the legal systems for regulating robots have balanced innovation, safety, and efficient manner for decades. Fundamental changes abandon the concern for balance, focus on compensation for innovation. Criticism ignore the need for balance. Criticism critics fail to consider innovation in the past. Criticism not sufficient to justify abandoning balance of innovation and safety. 1 C 3 through 5, no tech race impact. 1, no military AI. It's not true. Some AI models are collaborative and not monopolized. U.S. tech companies share their technology with China. That's Sherman. Redmore says the U.S. and Chinese threat sectors are entangled. 2, U.S. decline structural and inevitable. Chinese tech rises due to things like IP theft and data advantages that are independent of a liability scheme for AI. That was 1 AC cross X. 3, zero independent internal link to this rogue states impact. The 2 AC attempted to disambiguate. It's just all the same argument. The U.S. needs to outpace other countries, which is happening now, and all of our internal defense applies. 4, military AI is fake. Leadership is relevant. Con 21, debate over military AI leadership in combination with China hinge on the assumption there's a first mover advantage for AI. First mover advantage reflects overhyping expectations, rest reality, what is possibility. First mover advantage for AI remains unsustainable compared to other tech AI spreading faster research is open source, which led to releasing even the most cutting edge proprietary AI. Collaboration proves tech advances in AI don't deter China. Andrews 22, US and China have become the leading collaborators in AI, predictable faster than any other two, sharing their expertise working together. This is when during tech, in the previous tech revolution, Chinese revolution, 27.5% of all AI journals, AI American 20% also led other citations that indicate their importance, filling more than half of the world's patent applications. If China has an edge, it's all structural. Remember in 20, China will have big advantages, much more data, 3 times more mobile phone users. The average consumer of China makes 50 times the number of mobile payments, easier to verify facial recognition, consider no right to data privacy. Chinese companies rely more closely with their government commercial tech champions for national goals. Party committees maintain the alignment to subsidize research and rewards loyalty by using muscles of best prospects around the world. Now, no China war, unwelcoming geography, climate difficulties, amphibious landing gears, and U.S. intervention and local resistance, all deter conflict, specifically over Taiwan. That's Circus evidence. All causes too risky for China. Maderos in 21. Miss G set to invade and misreading of China's calculus in the current situation. China viewed the Taiwan as a political, not military. The consensus preference has been to deter rather than compel unification, even rising to tensions with the G is ancient preparing invasion. He had never set a clear deadline invading, raised the risk in the next 3 years. A crucial time for G's domestic agenda, like a short-circuited invasion that China have to occupy getting the econ, conquering complex far from a no-brainer. All causes Chinese innovation dominance carry 21, maybe turning in Chinese leadership in a recent border clash of Indian crack down on Hong Kong are manifestations of population aging, and that is unprecedented, expected to lose 400 million working age person in the century, 80% general imbalance. China's bullying South Korea, Japan, Japanese companies, Apple is planning to reach Japan, still high GDP presence, export markets are flat on their backs and furious about their coronavirus. China surrounded by countries that are unfriendly with their allies. The U.S. will armed with American weapons. China is project power into the ECS, waiting there are trends South Korea, Japan, and moves to serious American type power rejection would make the Chinese economy is already in trouble. Now the finance advantage. The disadvantage is illogical. There's no reason why the plan is necessary to any of this stuff. This advantage, or unique scores are describing an existing auto bubble generated because the loans were deferred after go through COVID. The AI corporate governance cards say if there had been AI corporate governance, the bubble would not exist. They have no evidence substantiating the act can deflate an existing bubble. They have no evidence that AI arises that technical capacity now. That was when you see cross-sects. We make the bubble impact findings ridiculous because their impact is premised off the bubble popping, not in corporate governance mitigating the impact afterwards. The economy is dead. The consensus of experts say a tight labor market keeps the Federal Reserve on an aggressive monetary policy tightening trajectory, and their evidence is from September. That's the 1C evidence. Bounce back was false, and the economy is June. Clouds 22. Economists remain pessimistic. Consumer spending is beginning to go into a whole lot of defend raising interest rates, increasing likelihood of deeper recessions. The house market security, nickel mining spending growth dropped to 0.144%. But no impact. Recessions that make war more likely. Complicants are at the ending point of the business cycle, and empirically demonstrating wars do not happen during downturns. It's our world evidence. Recessions don't make wars more likely. They make them a smaller liar in the 19. The business cycles for 4 phases of extension, currency recovery, recession recovery. No, relatively rising recession work never occurred in any one. Countries cannot manage solve problems. The recession expansion. Any of countries in expansion are facing downward pressure. The origin for outbreak during occurrence rate. People are worried about potential recession wars that occur in the downturn, which is caused by optimism. May take place when countries whose economy is still beginning to most deadly wars occur during upstream economies in the downturn. Have better guys to meet the more likely wage loss, wills, and choose stronger rivals. Now they misanswered our populism stuff. Financial crises do not cause populism. Recession makes support for populist parties less, not more popular, because electoral results demonstrate support for populism is primarily in middle-income countries. As the Cordero and Rama evidence, only statistically robust studies go net. Public and all 17 the rest is the results of the analysis based on we can finish that card. Just the populism code. But that was more the analysis. Yeah, read.
Okay, first on the counterclaim, who establishes the control criteria for whether or not an AI, whether or not insurance needs to be paid?
Who establishes who establishes it, or who would be responsible for enforcing it?
I guess like both.
I mean, it's a judicial doctrine, so it's an adaptation of existing corporate law frameworks, and this exact standard would obviously be determined through litigation and cases. But the United States would be the one announcing the initial principle.
Okay, so the United States announces the principle. It's like integrated into litigation. I I guess, so in what scenarios would the courts would hold the company liable for paying insurance?
Basically, in most, if not all, AI systems in the status quo, we don't think any of them are deemed sufficiently autonomous to not be subject to this beneficial control criteria. The main instance where this is one, determining who is held liable. So if there are, if there are potentially different contributors to an AI system, beneficial control criteria determines who is at fault in the particular case.
Okay,
And the compensation fund part of the counterplan only kicks in if there's literally no one that can.
Would there be any other branches that would kind of would there be any
It's a similar
agencies?
enforcement mechanism to the AF, right? The AF establishes a liability scheme enforced through litigation, and the counterplan does the same thing.
Sure. Okay, so the plank that says that directors should use AI when it is more efficient, how do we determine when a director is more efficient?
Again, it's an expansion of existing law, in this case fiduciary duties. So corporations and boards already have a fiduciary obligation as shareholders for good corporate governance, and we would just say, now corporate governance requires the use of AI.
So would that also be kind of judicially enforced? Would there also be a corporate law precedent that says you should use AI when it's more efficient?
I mean, it would, if there are fiduciary, if there's a violation of fiduciary duties, it would occur in the same way.
That makes sense. The perm, you said that it still links to rights to contract, etc. If below, you're right, the counterplan results in a demand side incentive to code morals into AI, why would the perm not solve AI misusing the right to contract?
It creates, well, this is an important distinction. It incentivizes corporations to basically do their utmost to make the AI safe. But our point is that AI that will inevitably be developed needs to be containable in a way that the status quo is not. So the counterplan means that the corporations need to do their best in order to make the AI safe, otherwise they'll be held liable under the beneficial control model. But for autonomous systems, in which there's not necessarily a direct repository of liability, there still needs to be, providing rights would undermine.
Okay, I guess what evidence do you have that kind of supports that time frame differential?
What do you mean?
We've
read evidence that the status quo AI would be covered by the beneficial control test.
Okay.
And then we've read.
But then it would subject autonomous AI later differently.
I'm confused about the question. Part of the premise of the DA as well is that the rights and duties of plan vests makes containment and makes a lot of this impossible, because now you've said that AI doesn't have the right and can be shut down and stuff like that.
Regulate the AI Act.
Say it one more time.
Sure. Advantage 2, the EU counterplan, the regulate counterplan, the AI Act. So
There's a noise in the background, I couldn't understand.
oh sure.
Advantage to EU, regulate.
Advantage 2, automation, EU, regulate, AI Act. Yep. Good to go. The only statistically robust study goes neg, Alpha 17 has the rest of the rules were
The analysis of group in 2010, the models were that duration of variables GDP and order that result in high share receipts and flex short variable section benefits immigration statistics to be 1% economic employment increase the share of the left party by 1.6 increase by 2.63%. Left party is only higher share of the vote and the lower house economy vote should not increase the share of seats of our left party is also economy considered to be master the right party's electric implementing factors under the economic far left party is center of labor is rate down goods even accessory influence and empirical analysis shows that economic development appears to be of no significant success maybe plan other than macrodynamic and poor performance of power important influence in the far left share economic resurface far left parties enjoy higher vote share the automation design can see there's no intellectual impact the econ related turns don't have uniqueness that was the advantage of defense there aren't these aren't turns anyway just link defense to the job loss thesis we get new answers the 1AR makes something up the EU counterweight can see the permutation not going for it international fiat is a reason to reject the argument regulate counterweight can see the permutation not going for it none of the benefits apply to the other counterweight because it's about next anti-regulation the AI bet is that one rogue AI outweighs on magnitude legally empowered AI exterminates humanity drop that even if AI doesn't get to super intelligence boxing AI under human control is necessary to avoid errors along the innovation process which rights protection for AI literally worse this Talis says that independently causes extinction via social manipulation electronic warfare and MDU. Second, the framing issue is the reason we call this the AI bad is that it does not require winning spillover. All our evidence establishes the AI LCs incorporates alone cause extinction 3. It turns the case by subverting the government's under 16 coups created somebody wars and the total lapse of AI can say multiple coups simultaneously one simulation phoenix which chaos which would be short the usual less of the action of MA would be global case like community stories of MA had access to unprecedented level information MA seek control of the house under the body to lobbying and square appeal MA let's just get the feed into a positive feedback second more power becomes centralized the usual be MA seek control of the world anthropology no penetrate our judicial system 4 every solvency argument is obvious and more difficult is punishing AI more conferring legal standing conferring AI's the cause 16 plus 18 legal system probably there's agent AI robust basic person artificial intelligence agents can show human consequences that should not like shield advocates noise robust is uncontrollable place balance and how should we robot solve they want to give a lot of captures easily once they account is put in the robot to be not effectively unanswerable traditional sanctions will be not available as unsatisfactory and effective making people vulnerable to separate reconstruction next making a wave of AI routing group 2AC 1 and 4 they were both the same argument 1 the app cannot have their cake and eat it too there is legal confusion on whether AI can be registered as an LC that is sufficient link uniqueness for our DA but if it's conclusive that AI can be an LLC now then negative presumption because the app is not inherent second this card about states does not say personhood now it says if a business is algorithmically managed by humans then it can be an LLC 3 the predictive claim about personhood is wrong it's non-existent from case 22 is law currently standing in the United States everywhere else all no robots is chattel robots are and will remain tools no different answer to the hammer robot person or AI person remains a robot prospect some also for legal protection also remain quite unlike machines with prospect next second machine receives a legitimate claim per person and 4 artificial entities are undertaking share 18 power and claim is possible green LLC controlled by autonomous system market extraordinary claim to correct extraordinary evidence system legal system only right as human beings that entities down with the person of the only exceptions animals like medieval Europe workers and also leave us unlike in the form could either framework that exists in LLC which has zero members in LLC seems to be LLC humans would retain ultimate control 2C2 is no spillover 1 the plan alone grants personhood Brown says requires capacity to give legal consent have the ability to exchange promises and be a person with sufficient mental capacity not alone triggers or impact because it gives AI the ability to manipulate currency and up in the economy contracting means literally any agreement which means that AI can contract itself into literally any right or duty second their websites give corporations that's distinct because they rely on human control share 18 live decided with in no way ready willing to say AI person who decided to for legal fiction corporate person because humans retain ultimate control over corporation action 3 AI contract rights alone or extension wide 20 merging AI 7% lead station without the capacity of a person without any legal attachment entities possessing person will be out unlike authority state agencies become more autonomous they have nothing to lose the world with AI to act assumption but all individual be to a challenge economic also AI real world AI just automatic economic institutional order 4 contract rights convert personhood makes 20 given the corporate absence of human intention auto contract frameworks validity such contract will be found in agency principle unlogical is also the computer is that person to have a human they feature an agent theories however inquiry the misinterpreted word agent and grow and that computers are to have the only figurative sense agency or grudge and it can be a person in the same sense if there was no two type of person there could be no agency relationship 2C3 is the AILC status solves 1 algorithmic legal entities with rights and duties cause extinction will block 18 the race will be to know regulation and all enables everyone to terrorists money criminals money launderers corrupt individuals enabled AI with catastrophic conflict of person autonomous computer algorithm including privacy and the property console equal protection AI's greatest advantage will be criminal that tries to not fear that nor capture many criminalizes the most serious threat to survival of the human race will AI against valid external grasping the effect and this is a good idea on the algorithm second it erodes limitation on interacting with the outside world and deletes the requirement of human control tier 19 this article says legal person why AI should not actually don't need that card scratch it 2C the 4 was answered above 2C 5 1 framing issue the checks that would prevent AI risk from snowballing or eliminated when rights are given to AI systems to be heard those 21 the last thing system needs is legally enforceable rights rights are simply cover contract is short circuiting exciting the type of never getting made research that is necessary rights this device obscures the problems getting some kind of rationale for permitting powerful entities developing AI to be absolved from accountability second there is no uniqueness for the turn there is containment now Piper 22 deep no I'm not over caution as you use technology depends on how we deploy it 40% said there's a 10% or greater chance AI will be extinction in the industry has left the self-regulated going share 69% thinking attention should be paid to AI safety potential growth of barrels will be hard to ignore I realize that really scary was when MBA Star Trek rights and personal challenge here is she's not clear will solve it in time 3 alignment is unrelated to legal rights part 22 deployment AGI is almost certain for like overcoming maintain the race towards AGI this was that's my motivation super intelligent AI which hit the word universal man away made little pockets on how aligned misaligned AI the power seeking and changing community future person very little time to align AI, train AI agent and secure box using interoperability tools to deception, either repeat the process or deploy multiple online since we know very little how to align AI option to deploy misaligned power seeking risk. We recommend option 1 until a breakthrough occurs alignment with the help of Box AGI 2C 6 with other countries. 1 international AI does not dump. They have no evidence other countries are endowing their AI with rights or duties. That's what triggers all our impacts, which is linked to 8. The China defense also responds to the China Holocaust 2C7 was no AGI. 1, we do not need an AGI. That was explained above. 2nd, AGI is coming now. Overwhelming consensus. Dealing E22 is looking at ever happened according to most experts over the century. There have been surveys of 995 research in all cases. Majority expect AI before 2060 to believe AI around 2050 or soon. 90% think by 2075. AGI seems the number most expert machine. Intelligence amount of power, memory growing extra right. It's only a matter of time. This extra machines are quite smart, quite soon, and quantum computer reduce no cost after Moore's law. The nature community trained neural networks are on quantum unlocks singularity. 3, even if long-term window for controls is tight, is not 5% this or fails. Long-term risk cost reducing certain lifetime reward depends on how long we take it up. Solution climate change currently the century not too super maybe too late to go for super AI. Cut that super AI.
756. Or 226. It's sent. Advantage 1, advantage 2, counterpoint to set. Everybody good?
Insurance may also apply more to the capital in the app because the app has other mechanisms to redress over liability, i.e. criminal liability, and as well as AI being able to own assets, insurance, and payout scheme that's separate from insurance, which means no matter when that use the client and that one doesn't take out the innovation to zero sum and forces the best practices and the models of other countries to adopt to the US model of technological leadership, which prevents Chinese authoritarian leadership. They put the app boost innovation and comes over all causes because it puts out murky classification and uncertainty within the market itself, which allows for a massive uptake in AI artificial intelligence, which also the impact, yes, first mover advantage, because the impact is based on perception, and perception trying to release their head, then they will lash out, but if they don't think they are, they won't. The next argument is about structural advantages in China are relevant because liability is the key internal link to whether or not the U.S. is ahead of the tech companies, because it determines whether a company's the best or not. Could you improve their China defense? It doesn't assume in which, one, they dropped the theory of power that China's offensive realism, which means they'll power grab at any sort of attempt they want, and then you can see that Taiwan is a sacred commitment, so they'll lash out. Second, they drop that even if they're right about the defense broadly, it's about perception, trying to think so ahead, they'll lash out, which means that winning the tech race is key. They drop the trust and the internal link, and the impact is they have this key to create corporate accountability through piercing the real concept, which creates trust and trust in AI, which is key to uptake, which solves both the downsides and upsides of artificial intelligence because it creates a global mechanism, so a global cooperation with other countries that enable best practices to merge and prevents the downsides of artificial intelligence, solving this side. The apprentice advantage goes now we have now they say AI has no capacity now, we have a card you don't. Corporate tech is an example, which means that AI is capable now of becoming directors. It's just a matter of legal requirements, which only the app gets rid of now. The AI does solve the auto loan problem for popping because they want defer loans to those who can't pay it back because they're more smart and they can see that humans are incompetent, which means that AIs are comparatively better. Now saying no war, yes war, group their defense, incentivize the populace. A sentiment which was increase the diversion and pressures for governments to lash out. They also dropped its price down into dependencies. If that collapses because of recession, that means that other countries are going to worse, especially China and the US. Now the
nuclear reactors extension.
No, whatever. Nearest person, look, they have filtered confidence, solves through innovation, but they have dropped reactive accountability the second internally to the first advantage. This key to uptake in AI, which creates international governance. Only the app solves it because it includes both civil and criminal duties, which is vital for consumer trust. With the governance establishes it's only based on insurance and strict civil liability. Now, it doesn't solve advantage one of our large counter results in a system that is too strict and holds companies liable for any damage. Insurance would be incalculable since the government would have to pay out every scheme, which makes the premiums sky high, preventing adoption to companies who aren't willing to pay for high premiums, or it's too low and doesn't go far enough. With accountability, since it only resolves personal injury claims, not all other AI harms like criminal liability, which makes uptake impossible. That's two minutes impossible to determine who benefits and controls more. Teresa, trying to difficult to justify liability, short issue, news, credit card, the appearance, information covered, special, unexpected, extremely difficult, never conceals, reduction to give confidence on humans, result in control, making it more justified liability that can be more than 1% control, should be treated as something going to produce a different term, which has more or less innovation happened in 1901 to the third version, single way, the active material, there are no actors who could be held to be liable to the users didn't have the intent of workforce like this. It does not amount to capable to contribute partly as all activities of problem solvers, especially a simple innovation that rejects the visioning for a minute. The impacts are linear, so the risk of solving definite way permutation to both solves. If it's a control test, the counterpart would solve unsafe AI because imagine a world which can accountably morally codes AI ethics. The app would grant them rights for legal classification purposes, but the combination of the counterpart allows for AI to be socialized within the moral and status coding, which solves the benefit. Now the last plank does not solve. They conceded that we have a card, they don't. It does not matter if humans just use the aid itself instead of the AI becoming the director, because the AI must be the director in order to solve this second advantage, because they conceded that humans have costly oversight charges in which they're the directors, which means that they're constantly needed to learn new law. AI is better AI is better in learning the law because they have the adequate data sets, which means even if the counterfeit has a fiduciary duty for humans, it still includes the oversight cost, which means it does self-advantage. Two, the rights creep does not go there now. One, time frame outweighs, so their impact is far off. Economic collapse is happening now. Two, case stalls, court fears to bail, namely human accountability. That was the second term link that was dropped, that's lie. Third, impact is inevitably. So you can see that the barrier evidence says that human laborers can purchase property or contracts on behalf of the AI empowering capabilities means rights are key and are good and containment fails for divest rights to some people coexistence since AI will perceive humans as a treatedness and if you're inflamed rights of confrontation that's Toshin concealing the AI from the legal system is bad. Turner 19th respect Robert Kennedy human undominated as the power to alter rest of all other we can have no companies that they have the same prediction over the have no way to be the conservation coexist when Turner also actually humans will not destroy most of the people to keep it under control no kidding but now 2021 make the very impossible to control super intelligent AI to do solution control what is control what AI can do get rid of connecting to the answer to the problem it's a super star machine good breaking models of possible writing so 100% it has super intelligent machine, the property links, it relies on benevolent AI, which requires them to win AGI. This is not an AI rights bad design, it's an AI AGI bad design because it relies on AI being bad, which is not the status quo, but assumes that AI has unchecked power. Now LLC's rights does not mean political rights, there's no government impact because they're not going for a spillover discount. They drop that, they're paying taxes AI, so even if they own property, wealth is redistributed, humans who stalls any sort of wealth accrual links, the LLC link doesn't take out the ass since it was just 2 states and they go far enough, but there's no impact to AGI anyways, though the 2EC evidence says that computer science agents must be attorney compatible, meaning it must be computable or a machine perform the basic functions. That's the Gravity evidence bears whenever we overcome Gavini. 22 AI becoming directed what happened to ever incredible progress will operate to no close evidence that's not intention of humans in singularity is not going to occur impossible because the limits on what this computer said by everyone nothing suggests this might be achieved but math cannot model complex systems the upper humans does not mean they can discover what's on what a human achieves every day. 2 is human science is providing basic neuroscience that's impossible to cut AGI to emulate consciousness. And 3 have none other authors explain anything when gravity 23 revision of super evil AI the vision of super evil AI we need to establish how the machine would develop without when there is no possibility the machine would be autonomous and not it cannot pursue goals out accessibility so it will have no postulates of goals must be supplied by humans.
6:30.
Was the last card on the DA Landgrave or Hammerhead?
It was Landry, it was the Air Abs one.
And did you read Gambini as well?
The card above that, yeah.
Personhood for AI causes extinction. Courts avoid legal status of AI cards out of space in the legal system that gets overrun by super intelligent AI with the ability to contract and engage external autonomous actors in the external world. So total evidence is that the mere act of granting partial corporate personhood causes extinction, spills over to afford AI the ability to contract, sue, accrue property, financial assets, propagate disinformation, influence elections, and be afforded the standing to disrupt society. That turns the case. They jump that legally empowered AI will take over the government and disrupt governmental systems by seizing political power. That is an independent scenario for extinctions for one in our persona, and turns both advantages by worsening liability gaps and deflecting from effective mechanisms for redress. It also turns advantage one, the app provides a legal venue for the downside risk of AI to be channeled, which undercuts uptake and undermines our ability to use it to win the tech race. And turns advantage two, AI corporate governance is bad. They have no means of aligning AI to take over corporations, or evidence explicitly specifies financial havoc as one potential scenario. The final framing issue is this is all DA to the plan directly. When I see cross says that the plan would include the right to sue, accumulate assets, contract, and own property. The combination of those rights will be disastrous and confers AI's legal authority and leverage to influence human actors and gain a foothold in the fight of the legal system, which they cannot do in the status quo where they're under the control of a corporation and require an attached human to do anything interesting. The time frame argument, no time frame, they're roughly equivalent. The app is about AI that can take over corporations. The same AI would be capable of being malicious and causing havoc, even short of full superintelligence, which is what Lupuki and Totola are about. It means we do not need to win AGI to win this DA. Pierce the veil, drop the 2C card that says the app makes that impossible by encouraging courts to go after the AI instead, since that's a new legal standard. This is a blip, and there's no reason to solve the DA, since the vast majority of instances the veil can't be pierced. Drop the 1R card from the overview that the more difficult it is to punish the AI, the more conferring legal standing versus AI wrongdoing. AI will prove to be unaccountable rights violators, and the app institutes a legal regime that makes reverting to the nearest human impossible. Alignment turned proper. One, uniqueness. AGI being a devil does not mean it will have the power or be misaligned. There are fail states because of design, procedural safeguards, and evaluations that contain rogue AI. Now, 70% of ML researchers are actively seeking to contain AI. As systems grow in complexity and debates about person become invoked, that's their pipe reference to the 1R. Two, legal rights undermine boxing. Labuki and Berhain says that even human level AI be boxed down, but legal recognition permits it to interact with the external world. Its power makes malevolence infinitely more dangerous. It sways political debates and coup the government to prevent regulation and wins the right not to be shut down. Three, alignment is impossible. Ethics and reprogramming fail. There's no friendly AI. Ethics are fuzzy. It cannot be coded in. Even if it seems like AI is being successfully aligned, there's no possible way to know whether it is or it's just manipulating you and aligning you back, which means alignment strategies will invariably get co-opted and culminate in extinction. That's the Pookie. There's no internal link between rights and socialization. You can have a legal regime that respects AI, but it does not matter if the AI does not know or care about it. Current systems are nowhere near that advanced to incorporate human morals or values. They are only capable of causing catastrophe. That means boxing is a prerequisite to and compatible with alignment, because we can both socialize AI to make it more likely to align with humans while simultaneously containing it before it is capable of accepting human goals and values like the law. The LLC argument one, they jumped to the after to be inherent. They cannot forward the claim that AIs can be LLCs now, even if it's legal confusion that is sufficient for linkingness. Given they have no evidence that there's mass proliferation of algorithm entities now, we have a slew of cards of containment is theoretically possible and occurring now, so there's only a risk where it's pushing over the edge. Two, you should also not accelerate the inevitable. Some legal ambiguity about AI LLCs now is sufficient to turn the plan grants a blank check. Three, no AI LLCs share index variances. You cannot make one because the legal system only recognizes humans as legal persons. It explicitly says, quote, it's unlikely a court would conclude that either statutory framework permits the continued existence of an LLC once it has 0 members. Now, AGI, we do not need to win it. Here's a line from Sotola that establishes that, quote, anywhere on the path from narrow to superintelligence, which means that even if there's no superintelligence AI takes over society of human rights and duties, are Lupuki evidence about, quote, algorithm entities which do not need to be AGI, just autonomous AI with human collaborators, criminals, and terrorists, give them the capacity to control resources, engage in political activities, which is, quote, existential. Even if it's not true, frame within the magnitude, the link Berhain says that rights undermine democratic debate on safety, which establishes there are unsafe applications of AI. AGI date proper. They show that even if it's long term, the window for advanced controls now usually is akin to climate change, wherein even if the impact of the century wave be too late, if we don't create checks now, I'm finishing that card. We are devoting resources to creating where AI is capable AI systems with little thought if we succeed. Our knowledge would be to move to Mars, no consideration of what we might bring. Defer to experts and look at each thousands of participants who believe AGI is coming before 2050. Machine intelligence growing at an exponential rate, and Moore's law means that algorithms will inevitably achieve singularity. Now, the nearest person counterplan. Beneficial control model cites as all their disadvantages to strict liability establishes manufacturers are partially liable for algorithm misconduct if and only if they benefit from the AI's behavior and control over the AI. The answer is when they are one, civil and criminal duties are relevant. They cannot just a mechanism to associate a corporation and AI for the purposes of the law, so that can be civil or criminal liability. The app doesn't say the counterplan doesn't get into the either. If the AI committed a crime, the corporation will also be held accountable for the AI as an agent if it benefited and controlled from it. Strict liability one, the counterplan is not beneficial control criteria solves over determines. The counterplan would not impose liability instances where it's determined that a company did not benefit or could not have recently prevented the damage caused by the AI. And all of our cards explicitly distinguish that from strict liability. So the counterplan solves innovation. Two, no link to the government paying out every scheme. They would only do so if there was no beneficial or controlled test that could be established. It's not true for the vast majority of AI now, like self-driving cars. Mathis says Uber would pay in that case as benefited and controlled. There's also no impact since corporations want to have to pay in that world, and they've only read deficits. So why it would be bad to overturn corporations, which the counterplan definitively is not. Perm do both fails, or thesis and the D's that alignment fails. You can program AI to care about basic things like not crashing pedestrians or RTs, about unforeseeable failure votes, and you can't box AI if they're given rights, which is the thesis, the link they can see. The last link of the counterplan solves advantage 2 requires corporations by fiduciary obligations to use AI when beneficial for corporate governance compliance. That was established in cross-links. They did not establish a permutation argument for why that would be the app. When we have a card, they don't. It's silly. Your cards are garbage. Don't say personhood. Now, near the corporation advantage. Status quo sufficiently solves investment in innovation is flexible, adaptable, and companies are not deterred from developing AI now. If they are, it's to make it more safe, which ensures the pace of development now is Goldilocks, and only risk the app makes it worse. No tech race or China war impact. AI models are collaborative, not militarized. Vast majority of AI innovations are like private companies like Google and Diffuse, not exclusively shared through defense contracts, so they can't be used to surpass China. That's Sherman and Red War. They admitted cross-sex China surpassing due to unrelated economic factors like authoritarianism, lack of privacy, and IP theft. They've read no evidence of plans necessary sufficient to overcome all of that. No China war. They jumped from all causes of Chinese tech dominance like aging crisis and military overstretch for the Twin Sea carry evidence to undermine China's ability and motivation to lash out respectively to gain a slight edge in the tech race. That's a silly argument. China doesn't want to risk regime destruction by taking on the U.S. Deterrence and interdependence promotes self-interest and restraint over escalation. That's because some evidence even over Taiwan. Now, finance advantage. This advantage is ridiculous. They've read uniqueness from October. The economy's on the verge of popping from an auto loan bubble and inflation. They have no evidence AI has sufficient capability to be scaled up to run a single company in the next few months. I mean, necessary to avert that crisis, let alone broadly take over the economy. There's an internal link time frame mismatch here. And we've read two cards that say the economy is struggling right now. The Fed is raising rates and dealing with inflation. The app can possibly overcome all of that. No econ decline impact shocks are temporary and the economy's bounce back. It's proved by recessions like 08, which is what their impact scenario is about. Recessions are not correlated with war, diversionary war. It's empirically proved by historical models and downturns might war made costly or encourage leaders to turn inwards to allow evidence.
advantage 2. The counterplan. The DA. Everyone good? Okay.
The tenor was very meticulous and scholarly, as Dartmouth usually is, but it was strategically misaligned and made a lot of technical concessions that makes it unwinnable for them, unwinnable for them. They've dropped the trust scenario. The threat to debate, the plan is key to global AI governance that solves every existential risk. The CMOS evidence says that it solves climate and disease disasters, globally provides education, but that's only possible for a global framework, the framework of AI that is conferred by the personhood. Only trust in the United States is key to global uptake of AI, and only personhood establishes as norms globally. That's the Novelli evidence and the CMOS evidence that they're going to. It solves all of the arguments on the dissad, because in the world because all the risk of misaligned corporate governance, all the risk of misaligned use of corporate governance are solved by the Novelli evidence, and this says that it's key to human AI value harmonization that stems from societal trust in AI, but only the plan's redux mechanism that is profitable and scalable is able to get the companies to actually comply with that, which is the key. The SAS code does not solve the afterlife evidence post dates by 6 years, which their evidence does not assume later advances in AI technology, and says that there's a lack of traceability that makes it impossible to hold companies accountable in the status quo. Hold accountable in the status quo. In the status quo. The counterplan, or yeah, the counterplan, or yeah,
Second image.
Okay, the second image. I don't need to run a huge risk of this because we're winning a ton of defense and the Indian road to their impact on that they don't solve. The counterplan does not solve, but the majority, our evidence is great, and it gives the majority of the internal links throughout the debate. Yes, we scale up in the short term. The Arlova evidence says that the granting legal status allows for experimentation that overcomes the agency costs associated with using AI as a director that creates better and more effective decision making from corporate boards than the humans, because AI is less biased and more efficient, which is able to revitalize all parts of governance. They've considered that in the status quo, human boards are going to be incompetent, which is the Montaigne evidence, and says that is specifically responsible for the auto bubble. That is the only internal link to the economy that matters, because our evidence says that it's dovetailing with pandemic rebound effects and causes tons of evictions and unemployment, which outweighs all of their defense that they have extended. The Turner evidence says that granting LLC status means they're incorporated quickly, which answers their scale-up arguments. Yes, impact the Mathis evidence is more comprehensive than than everything they've read in this post-COVID. Says that it fries global systems, causes conflict in the SCS, Taiwan, Korea, etc. Also causes nuclear meltdowns. The center of evidence is key to is specific to a recession now, and says that it sparks global populism and nationalism. Anything else? What? Oh yeah, the counterplan. All right, sweet. The counterplan, it does not solve AI governance. The next question in this debate is whether the counterplan is able to solve trust, because the F solves the internal impact of the DA through governance, so there's no external offense. Reactive accountability is vital for trust among all parties across the supply chain. Only the AF creates civil and criminal accountability mechanisms that cement trust in AI. Crossed by the Tubner evidence here. Tubner says that insurance payouts and strict liability is not enough, because it only converts redress for personal injury claims, nothing more, which means every act of criminal behavior that is not punished in the world of the counterplan, only the AF is able to solve. That's the lie evidence, the HLEG evidence, and the Novelli evidence from the 1AC. They've gone for a bunch of arguments for why it's able to solve the innovation, but not many arguments for why it effectively holds the companies accountable. And the arguments that they have gone for about why it holds companies accountable would totally shield the link to this. Would totally shield the link to the shield the link to the. Would totally shield the link to the dissad. Would totally shield the link to the dissad. The one-year evidence says that making the determination of whether or not an AI meets the standard is impossible, because every AI could potentially be enrolled and it can potentially be enrolled. What do you say? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It does not solve the finance advantage. It could drop the agency costs argument that was in the 1ER. The argument that the counterplan just essentially fiats that humans use AI, which is the status quo. The Arlov evidence says that fails because they need to have legal accountability for every single time a director uses an AI, which means that the companies are not incentivized to use it, and the benefits of an AI being a director itself is not realized. This internal link warrant for why the counterplan does not solve this. The conceit to the zero risk that it solves the finance advantage. The DA, the case definitely outweighs the auto level pops is imminent, and they're integrated as directors immediately, which happens, they rely on the AI developing self-consciousness and creating control of every political institution, outcompeting us in the job market, etc., and becoming completely autonomous. Plus, they dropped the tax add-on, which solves all of their internal link arguments, and was definitely extended in the 1AR crossplay from the DA. The thesis of all of their arguments is that there's going to be a bunch of political lobbying and inequality that happens as a result of the corporate rights and duties to AI, and then that allows them to lobby in a way that subverts humanity and destroys our economic influence. But they've considered the 2 pieces of income evidence says that all of the income that they would make would get taxed and then get redistributed to humans. It answers all of their arguments about why the DA is distinct and why LLC rights are specifically key. The permutation I'm going to be doing the shielding stuff here. That if it is about development being unsafe as per cross-sex and human coding and World is able to solve all their cards and say the regulations solve, just the app, not a demand side scheme which solves the warrant for why there would be an incentive for AI to subvert things. Also answers the argument for why malicious actors will use it. Finally, no AGI. In order for it to be beloved, it would have to be intelligent. One is computer science. Basic computer science disproves the ability for AI to ever be general because it requires non-mathematical functions impossible to code, so tech development cannot solve. As per a large consensus, 2 is human science. Basic neuroscience disproves the brain being analogous to a computer. Burning AGI from getting the consciousness needed to go rogue. You can't code your way around it. Finally, the total evidence is about disjunctive risk, which doesn't make sense for risk assessment because it doesn't assume causal claims that have to be won in debate, which means all their LLC unique arguments don't have internal links. Good debate.